Welcome, spicy ladies. When you learn to enjoy your own company, the world starts to feel less demanding. A Sigma female isn't alone because she can't connect with others. She's alone because most people can't meet her where she lives mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She values her peace more than she craves attention. She doesn't chase noise. She listens to her own inner compass, and that often leads her away from crowds. She has a deep mind. She thinks carefully, feels deeply, and moves differently. But that depth comes at a cost. Superficial people get uncomfortable around her. They don't know what to say when they can't predict her. They don't know how to act when they can't influence her. And instead of adjusting to her energy, they distance themselves. That's why Sigma females often walk solo. Not because they're cold or distant, but because they can't fake interest in shallow things. They'd rather protect their time than waste it explaining who they are to people who only see the surface. If you're a Sigma female, remember this. Your silence is not emptiness. It's strength. Your standards are not too high. They're precise. You don't need to lower yourself to feel seen. You don't need to be understood by everyone to know your worth. You're not disconnected. You're just deeply connected to yourself. And that scares people who still need the crowd to feel complete. Keep choosing yourself. Keep valuing your peace. You're not missing out. You're rising above. Stay rare. Stay steady. Let's get started. Spicy ladies. Number 1. They would rather have no one than the wrong one. This is the kind of mindset most people don't understand. Sigma women are not afraid of being alone. What scares them more is wasting their time, energy, and heart on someone who doesn't truly see them. They're not sitting around hoping for someone to come rescue them from loneliness. They've been through that phase. They faced the quiet. They sat with it, cried through it, learned from it, and came out stronger on the other side. A Sigma woman doesn't need company just for the sake of being occupied. She doesn't entertain people who drain her. She doesn't open her heart just because someone showed interest. She looks at intentions, energy, consistency. If something feels off, she trusts that feeling. She doesn't second guess herself to keep someone around. Think about this. Most people jump from one relationship to the next because silence scares them. They need distraction, validation, noise. But a Sigma woman, she chooses silence over chaos. She chooses peace over pressure. She chooses quality over quantity. She doesn't mind having an empty phone if it means her soul stays full. She has already been through that phase where she gave too much and received too little. She knows what emotional emptiness feels like even when someone else is beside you. That's why now she guards her space like a sacred garden. Being alone is not her weakness. It is her filter. It protects her from people who aren't ready for the kind of depth she brings. And when the right person does come, they won't be a cure for her loneliness. They'll be a partner for her peace. So no, she's not bitter. She's not closed off. She's just not desperate because she knows what she brings to the table and she refuses to share that with someone who doesn't value it. Number 2, they don't hate people. They just can't stand pretense and nonsense. A Sigma woman is not cold. She's not rude, and she's definitely not antisocial. She simply has a very low tolerance for anything fake, forced, or shallow. She doesn't have the energy to sit through empty conversations or pretend to enjoy someone's company when everything about them screams performance. She's the kind of woman who listens more than she speaks. Not because she's shy, but because she's paying attention. She notices how people talk, what they avoid saying, how their words match up with their actions. And the moment she senses a mask, she checks out quietly instantly. It's not that she doesn't like people. Right now, if you're still watching, I hope this video can help you. Your comments motivate me so much, so I can make more videos which you like. So hit that subscribe button and leave me a message. Let's continue. She just refuses to engage with anyone who plays roles instead of being real. You know the type people who only speak in trends, who adjust their personality depending on who is in the room, who say things just to be liked. That's the kind of environment that drains a Sigma woman. She would rather sit alone in her thoughts than sit in a room full of fake smiles and fake connections. She doesn't do things to please the crowd, and she definitely doesn't follow the herd just to feel safe. If something doesn't align with her values, she's out. No announcement, no argument. But here's the thing. If you're real with her, if you speak with honesty and move with integrity, she will support you in ways most people cannot. She is loyal. She is solid. And she doesn't play games. So, no, she doesn't hate people. She's just allergic to nonsense. She doesn't have time to decode lies or keep up with fake friendships. Her peace matters too much. Her time is too valuable. And if being true to herself makes her look distant, so be it. She'd rather be misunderstood for being real than be accepted for pretending. Number 3, they don't ask for support. They are the support. Sigma women are built differently. While most people are taught to lean on others, they grew up learning how to hold themselves together. Whether it was through heartbreak, disappointment, or simply being the one everyone else depended on, they became the backbone in rooms full of people who had no idea how much they were holding. They've been the friend who showed up when no one else did. The daughter who stayed strong when the whole family was falling apart. The woman who carried her pain in silence so others wouldn't have to worry. That kind of strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from surviving seasons where there was no backup, no rescue, and no shoulder to cry on. That's why they don't expect support. Not because they don't want it, but because they've learned not to rely on it. People often mistake that for being distant or hard. But the truth is, they've just learned to move without needing applause or a safety net. This kind of self-sufficiency makes some people uncomfortable. It's intimidating to meet a woman who doesn't crumble when things get heavy. A woman who doesn't need saving. Some take it personally. They feel unneeded. But that's not her intention. She's just used to doing things on her own because history taught her to. She's the one others call when life hits hard. Yeah, she rarely calls anyone when she's going through it. Not out of pride, but because she trusts her ability to handle it. If you know a Sigma woman, understand this. She's not avoiding connection. She's just built a world where she is her own anchor. And if she ever lets you in, consider it a privilege. Because even when she's falling apart, she'll still show up for you. That's who she is. Not the one who asks for support, but the one who is support. Number 4, they see patterns in people and they don't like what they see. Sigma women are observers. They don't just hear what you say, they study how you say it. They notice the things you repeat, the truths you avoid, the subtle shifts in your tone when you lie to yourself or to others. They don't judge immediately, but once the pattern shows up, they never unsee it. This is why they often keep their circles small or choose to walk alone. It's not because they're antisocial or think they're better than anyone. It's because they see the loop. They spot the cycle of empty apologies, the same stories told in different words. The way someone always plays the victim but never takes accountability. And once you see that clearly, it becomes nearly impossible to relax around it. For example, if a Sigma woman notices that every time someone gets close, they suddenly shift into competition mode, she'll take a mental note. If someone constantly needs attention but never offers support, she picks that up, too. She connects the dots quickly, and once the picture is clear, she quietly steps back. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. She's not here to fix anyone. She's not in the business of babysitting adult egos or playing therapist for people who refuse to grow. She knows the difference between someone having a bad day and someone being stuck in a toxic loop. And she respects herself enough to walk away. This ability to recognize emotional patterns often makes her seem detached. But it's the opposite. She feels deeply, too deeply. That's why she has to be careful where she places her energy. She doesn't hate people. She just hates being drained. So, she watches, she listens, and when the same patterns keep repeating, she chooses peace over pretending. That's the quiet power of a Sigma woman. She sees everything and still chooses silence. Number 5, they've been betrayed and they didn't announce it. Sigma women don't broadcast their pain. When they're betrayed, you won't see a meltdown. There's no dramatic exit, no public outburst, no long message exposing what happened. What you'll see is silence, distance, a shift that speaks louder than words. They've experienced betrayal in its quietest form. The kind that comes from people they trusted, friends who secretly competed, partners who lied with a straight face, family who pretended to support them but clapped louder when they failed. It wasn't always loud, but it cut deep. And instead of asking why, they recalculated emotionally, mentally, logically. They didn't beg for closure or try to make someone feel guilty. They accepted the betrayal for what it was. A lesson, a redirection, proof that some people were never meant to sit at their table. That's the thing about Sigma women. They process pain in private. They don't seek pity because they've learned that most people only listen to respond, not to understand. So, they don't waste time trying to explain how badly they were hurt. They just move on with a sharper mind and a quieter heart. They choose isolation not because they're afraid of people, but because they've seen how fast loyalty can change. They would rather be alone in peace than surrounded by people they cannot fully trust. So when they pull back, it's not random. It's calculated. It means they saw something they can't ignore. And once that shift happens, there is no going back. They don't need revenge. They don't need closure. Their silence is both the goodbye and the warning. They keep their power by not reacting emotionally. They walk away with their dignity intact because that's what Sigma women do. They let the betrayal teach them, not define them. Number 6. They hold space for pain, and that scares people. Sigma women have a rare kind of strength, not the kind that hides pain behind a smile or distracts it with noise. Theirs is the quiet strength, the kind that sits with pain, unpacks it, and stares it dead in the eye without flinching. They don't rush to move on. They don't cover wounds with fake positivity. If something breaks them, they let it. If something hurts, they feel it fully. They don't dilute their emotions just to make others comfortable. And that raw honesty makes people uneasy. We live in a world where everyone's trying to escape something through screens, distractions, temporary highs. Most people run from pain. Sigma women walk straight into it. They understand that healing doesn't happen by avoiding the darkness. It happens by sitting in it and asking the hard questions. Why did this happen? What am I supposed to learn from this? How do I grow through it? Their emotional depth isn't something they show off. It's something they carry quietly, steadily. And for people who've never faced themselves, being around that kind of intensity can feel uncomfortable, even intimidating. Imagine being around someone who doesn't pretend to be fine when they're not. Someone who isn't afraid of silence. Someone who cries without shame and reflects without needing an audience. That's the Sigma woman. And to people who only know how to perform emotion, she feels like a mirror, one they're not ready to look into. She doesn't demand that others carry her pain. She just asks not to be told to hide it. And when that's too much for some, she lets them go because she'd rather be alone in truth than surrounded by people who fear her depth. That's the beauty of the Sigma woman. She doesn't run from pain. She transforms through it quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. Number 7. They see love as a responsibility, not a reward. Sigma women don't romanticize love like it's some magical feeling that's supposed to fix everything. To them, love isn't about sparks and butterflies. It's about showing up when it's hard. It's about choosing someone over and over, even after the excitement fades. They've grown past the idea that love is something you chase for validation. They felt the high of emotional connection and the crash when it isn't backed by character. That's why they no longer fall for charm. They look for depth. They look for someone who understands that love is more than words and gestures. It's work. It's effort. It's consistency. Most people talk about love like it's a prize, something you get if you're lucky or beautiful enough. But Sigma women don't care for that kind of fantasy. They see love as something you earn by being emotionally present, accountable, and honest. They ask questions others are too afraid to bring up. Can you handle the truth when it's ugly? Will you show up when I'm not easy to love? Can you communicate without ego in the way? That's the level they live on. And the truth is, not everyone is ready for that kind of emotional maturity. So, they stay single longer. They turn down good, looking offers that lack substance. And people may call them picky, guarded, or hard to impress. But what they really are is clear. They know the cost of settling for less than they deserve. When a Sigma woman loves, she loves deeply. But she will not carry the full weight of a relationship alone. She's not here to fix people or play therapist. She's here for a partnership rooted in truth, effort, and real emotional connection. So no, she's not chasing love. She's waiting for someone who understands that love is not just a feeling. It's a responsibility, one she's fully prepared to carry if the other person is too. Number 8, they are honest in ways that hurt. Sigma women don't sugarcoat reality. If something needs to be said, they say it. Not to embarrass or belittle anyone, but because they value truth more than temporary comfort. Honesty for them is an act of respect. But for others, it can feel like a slap because most people aren't ready to hear what they claim they want to know. They don't do the tell me what I want to hear game. If you ask them for advice, they'll give you the truth, not a watered down version to protect your feelings. If they see you stuck in a cycle, they'll point it out, even if it stings. If you say one thing but live another, they'll call it out. Not to shame you, but to hold up the mirror. They've had to be brutally honest with themselves, too. That's why they don't flinch when it's time to be honest with others. They face their own flaws, mistakes, patterns, and fears. They've taken responsibility where others would look for excuses. That kind of emotional courage is rare, and it makes people uncomfortable. People say they want clarity. What they really want is reassurance, something that makes them feel good, even if it's not true. But Sigma women can't lie to protect someone's comfort. That feels like betrayal to them. If the truth hurts, it hurts. But they'd rather deal with the pain of truth than the poison of pretending. Dishonesty can cost them relationships. Some people walk away, others get defensive. But a Sigma woman will never beg to be understood. She knows that not everyone is ready for that level of realness. And she's okay with that because at the end of the day, her honesty isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And for those who are brave enough to hear it, it's one of the most valuable gifts she can give. Number 9, they're hard to reach because they've built inner empires. Sigma women don't just have strong minds, they have entire worlds within them. Their thoughts run deep. Their emotions are layered. Their silence holds meaning most people never take the time to understand. From the outside, they may seem distant or hard to read. But the truth is, they're not closed off. They're just built different. They've spent years building who they are from the inside out. Through every heartbreak, every setback, every disappointment, they didn't collapse. They rebuilt piece by piece, in silence, in solitude. And over time, that solitude stopped feeling lonely. It started to feel like home. Their solitude isn't a sad story. It's their sanctuary. It's where they think clearly, where they re-enter, where they process life in ways that are too complex for surface-level conversations. Most people look for distraction when they're alone. Sigma women use that same time to grow. Getting close to a Sigma woman isn't impossible, but it's not easy either. You can't talk your way in. You can't charm your way through. You have to earn it through presence, honesty, and consistency. She won't open up just because you're interested. She's seen too many people come and go. She's not building bridges for tourists. And even when she lets you in, it won't be all at once. You'll get a piece of her world, not the whole map. You'll feel the depth, but you'll also feel the boundaries. That's why many people give up before ever really knowing her. They don't have the patience, the courage, or the self-awareness to meet her at her level. Her mind is not a playground. It's a fortress. And her peace, that's sacred ground. So yes, she's hard to reach, not because she's hiding, but because she knows her worth and she protects it like a kingdom. Number 10, they see patterns in people and they don't like what they see. Sigma women notice things most people overlook. They don't just listen to what someone says. They observe how they behave over time. They pick up on patterns, not just moments. And once those patterns start to form, it becomes nearly impossible for them to ignore what's really going on beneath the surface. It might start with small things. A friend who always plays the victim but never owns their part. A partner who says all the right words but never follows through. A colleague who praises others in public but tears them down in private. Most people brush this off or explain it away. Sigma women don't. They connect the dots. And once they see the full picture, they step back, not because they're judgmental, but because they know that keeping people around who lie to themselves will eventually drain them. They've already done the emotional labor of growing. They've faced their own flaws. They've broken their own cycles. So being surrounded by people who are stuck in loops of insecurity, manipulation, or drama feels like going backward. They can't just hang out when they see through the masks. When they notice how someone always shifts blame, always competes silently, always talks behind backs, something in them switches off. The connection breaks, not with noise or conflict, but with quiet clarity. This kind of awareness can make them seem distant or hard to please, but it's not about being cold. It's about protecting their peace. They're not here for surface level friendships or emotionally lazy relationships. They've outgrown that. To a Sigma woman, patterns matter more than promises. Actions speak louder than charm. And if someone's pattern is built on lies, ego, or self-serving behavior, she won't stick around to see how the story ends. She's already read the plot, and she's wise enough to walk away before it repeats. Number 11, they read between the lines, and most people don't like that. Sigma women don't just listen to words, they decode them. They pick up on tone, timing, hesitation, and what's not being said. They notice when your story changes. They feel the shift in your energy before you even speak. You can smile all you want, but if your vibe is off, they'll pick it up like a signal instantly. This ability makes them powerful, but also dangerous to people who rely on charm, manipulation, or pretending. A Sigma woman sees beneath the surface. She picks up on hidden motives, double meanings, and quiet deceit. And she doesn't let it slide. She might let things play out at first. She watches. She gives people space to reveal themselves. But once the pieces fall into place and she sees what you're really about, she confronts the truth. Not always with words, sometimes just with distance. And when she does speak, it's direct, clean, undeniable. That kind of clarity rattles people, especially those who aren't used to being seen for who they truly are. It's one thing to keep up a mask in front of the world, but when someone sees through you without trying, it can be terrifying. That's why some relationships fall apart the moment she starts asking real questions. The moment she challenges the fake story, the moment she holds up the mirror, because most people aren't ready to be exposed. They'd rather keep pretending, and she makes that impossible. But here's the thing, she doesn't do it to be harsh. She does it because truth matters to her. She doesn't want shallow bonds built on illusions. She wants the real thing. And if you can't handle being seen clearly, she won't force it. So, yes, Sigma women read between the lines, and no, most people don't like that. But the ones who do, the ones who live in truth, are the ones she holds close, because honesty for her isn't optional. It's the foundation. Number 12, they're comfortable in silence, and it unnerves people. Sigma females move through the world with a calm that doesn't demand attention, but it grabs it anyway. While most people fill every moment with noise, scrolling, talking, over-explaining, she sits quietly, observing, processing, thinking, and that silence. It unsettles people who haven't learned how to be alone with themselves. You'll find her at a gathering, not trying to dominate the room, but quietly sipping her drink, watching the energy, picking up on what's really happening beneath the surface. She doesn't talk just to talk. She doesn't force conversation to avoid awkward pauses. In fact, she welcomes those pauses. She knows real connection doesn't need to be filled with constant chatter. But here's what people don't say out loud. Silence makes most people anxious. It forces them to hear their own thoughts. And for many, that's a space they'd rather avoid. When they're around someone like a Sigma woman who is fully present in silence, they start to feel exposed. Not because she says anything, but because she doesn't have to. Her stillness creates a contrast. They can't ignore. They wonder, why isn't she trying to impress anyone? Why does she seem so sure of herself without saying much? The answer is simple. She's made peace with herself. She's processed her pain. She's explored her thoughts, and now she doesn't need noise to feel secure. That inner calm is her superpower. But it makes others uncomfortable, especially those who rely on chaos and constant stimulation. They don't know how to connect without distraction. She does. So, while others rush to fill the silence, she leans into it. Because for her, silence isn't awkward. It's clarity. It's peace. It's home. In final words, solitude is not loneliness when you know who you are. Sigma females are not empty. They are not broken. And they are certainly not in need of fixing. They've simply outgrown noise, outgrown pretending, and outgrown the shallow connections that many people settle for. They've learned that being alone is not the same as being lost. It's actually where they find the most clarity. They don't avoid people because they think they're better. They avoid people because they've spent enough time trying to explain themselves to those who never really listened. They've been let down. They've watched masks fall. They've been in rooms full of smiles but felt the weight of hidden agendas. And so they chose a quieter path, not out of fear, but out of freedom. If you are a Sigma female, understand this. Your solitude is your power. It is proof that you have the courage to be with your own thoughts, to build your own peace, and to walk away from anything that does not feel real. That kind of strength is rare. That kind of self-trust is not common. You're not missing out. You're making space for the right energy, for deep alignment, and for people who see you without needing you to shrink. You don't need crowds to feel valuable. You don't need attention to feel alive. You've created a life that reflects who you really are, even if that means fewer people walk beside you. And that is something to be proud of. Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies, make life beautiful. Thank you for watching, and God bless.